If you're a bride-to-be, then listen up because I'm going to tell you exactly how we planned our entire wedding, the full process, logistics, the organization, the vendors that we chose, the budgeting, everything is coming your way in this video. So keep watching and let's get straight into it. First things first, what I want to clarify is our, I guess, timeline of events, because that confused quite a lot of people online. We had our nikah, our Islamic ceremony, quite a lot earlier than the rest of all of our events. We had about 7-8 months in between our nikah and our main wedding day. Now that ended up being a conscious choice because of us realizing how much time we need to plan. If you guys watched my nikah planning video, which is already on my YouTube, so definitely go and have a look at that if you are planning a nikah specifically and it's more of an intimate event that you're trying to plan, because the event in this video catered to over 200 people. So that is the context of this kind of event and everything that I'm going to talk to you about in the rest of this video. But if you did watch that video already, you will know that we planned that event very, very quickly. I don't want to say last minute, but it was within the space of a couple of months max. So when you do plan a small event, you can get it done in that time, but we just knew that to have a big event at that same moment and closer to the nikah, it was too much stress and pressure to do it all at the same time. So we opted to have a bit of a break so we had that time to plan and make sure that everything was as we wanted it to, and also save up the funds, because weddings, let me tell you, they are pricey. In this video I'm going to be focusing on the main day. I know you guys have seen a lot of our mehndi, but like I said, my in-laws planned that entire event, so I don't really have much info to share. That was probably one of my most favorite events ever, just because I literally was the most relaxed I think I've ever been, because I didn't plan anything, I didn't have to worry about anything. I was just there for the vibes, I was just enjoying myself, and it was a really, really incredible, wholesome event. There is more content of our mehndi on my other socials, on my TikTok, on my Instagram, if you're interested in seeing a little bit of snippets of what that event was like. But I won't be going into that event in detail in this video. So the main wedding day is the day that Sunny and I booked and paid for ourselves basically entirely. So I can give you the lowdown on budgeting and everything in this video for this event. One thing I will say though, my mother-in-law bought my outfits for both the mehndi and for the main wedding day. But aside from that, everything else we budgeted for, saved for, did our entire selves basically. Before we go into money and budgeting, let me start from the beginning and in terms of planning, organization for your event, because I think that's super, super important to get a hold of at the beginning. First thing I actually did was book our venue. Most of you will know we booked Hazelwood Castle, which is the most insane venue. I was so pleased with our venue, and I can't rave about them enough because it was just such, it was like my dream location to get married. It was a literal castle, like I felt like a literal princess. So if you guys are looking for a wedding venue, really highly recommend Hazelwood Castle. That's the first thing we booked, because without your venue it is really hard to plan anything else basically. I wanted my main wedding day to be a celebration, a party. We'd already done everything religiously we had to do, legally we had to do. We were fully married at this point, so this was our time to celebrate. So that's what we went into planning this event with in mind. We wanted everyone to have the best time, including ourselves, of course. So once we booked the venue, I think I very quickly realized, especially after planning the nikah all on my own, that this was just a really, like, it's something I really wanted to get right, and I just knew I wasn't going to be able to do it on my own to the level that I wanted to do it. So we hired Ilsa, which, guys, if you don't know Ilsa, get to know. She is huge on TikTok, on Instagram, and she is such an incredible wedding planner. She's so good at what she does. We decided to hire her based on what we saw from her services online and the little videos that she posted and the things that she does for other people on their wedding days. I just knew that that is exactly what I needed, and let me tell you, she did not disappoint. So when I hired Ilsa, there was option of just hiring her to help with the planning side of things. I think we paid for her gold package from what I remember. Don't quote me on that, but I think we got her gold package, which basically included wedding planning services, but then also she would be there on the day to help coordinate and run the event. So that's what we paid for. And leading up to the event, Ilsa essentially helped us with all of the sourcing of vendors. So I would tell her exactly what I wanted. I sent her my mood board of my Pinterest pictures of what I wanted the event to look like. what vibe we wanted. It basically gave her the lowdown on exactly what I expected out of the event, and she made it happen. You know, the benefits of booking a wedding planner is that you get access to all their contacts. Like, they already know people in the business that are really good at what they do because they go to so many other different events and weddings. They know who work well, they know who don't, they know what looks good, what doesn't. As someone that doesn't attend many weddings at all, I think having a wedding planner was crucial for me. Also, as someone who booked a venue that doesn't automatically come with all like the decor and everything, so a lot of the time when you book Asian wedding halls, they typically have everything included. Like, they cater, they have the decor already set up. We wanted the most personalized event. Like, we wanted it to be really, really unique to us, so we opted to kind of do everything from scratch ourselves. We were very specific about the food that we wanted. We were very specific about how we wanted the marquee to look. So having Ilsa was an actual godsend because she was able to source all the vendors that we wanted that could do exactly what we wanted. She was also the main contact for all our vendors. She coordinated with the venue really well as well to make sure that they had everything they needed, the details of the day, the schedule. She drew up the schedule of the day. She was responsible for payments, like all the admin logistical side of things she took care of. And that's what we paid for. And honestly, that was money so well spent. So in terms of your budget, if you are going for a venue where you want to kind of start from scratch and do everything yourself, I would really recommend getting a wedding planner. They can be expensive, I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a bit of an expense added to the list of many expensive things that we hired. But I really do think it was worth it. And I wouldn't tell you it wasn't worth it if it wasn't. Like, and even on the day, like, she also helped on the day, which is what I'll get into later. But in terms of the planning side of things, honestly, it saved me a lot of stress. So with that being said, I'm gonna now go through a few things that I think are the main costs for your wedding day, but also the things that you should be more focused on putting more of your budget towards. And then I'll go through the nice to haves, because we definitely had a lot more nice to haves than we probably should have done, which is why we ended up paying double what our budget was. Yeah, let's just talk about that part. So in terms of the must-haves and the things that you really need to focus on when it comes to your budget and where most of your money should go. So wedding planner is kind of optional, just depends on what venue you choose. It depends on the style of wedding that you want. Also, wedding planner depends on if you have a lot of family to help you out as well. Because we planned and did everything ourselves, we needed to rely on a wedding planner, but a lot of people might not need that. So if you have big families and people in your family that are really good at that stuff, like, leverage their skills. But for us, I'm just gonna say in our personal experience, a wedding planner was a must. Next would be photos and videos. So your photographer and videographer is gonna be another big chunk of the cost, but something that's so worth it, you guys. Your photos and videos last you a lifetime. That's the one thing out of your entire event that's gonna last forever and that you're gonna be able to keep forever. So don't skimp on your photographer and videographer. Make sure you're happy with their work. Make sure they're people that you really love their work and you're excited to see what they put together for you, because that's how we felt. That's how I felt about our videographer and photographer. Don't get me wrong, photography and videography, they are not cheap, but just make sure that you're aware of that in advance and make sure you prioritize it, because I do think it's worth prioritizing. The third thing I would say that you need to save a chunk of your budget for, this is also going to be dependent on what kind of venue you book, but the decor costs are again a hefty chunk of your expenses when it comes to a wedding. If you are booking a venue where you have to decorate yourself, a lot of venues do come with a decor, so it'll probably be included in the price. It just really depends on what venue you go for, but for us, we decorated ourselves and hired a decor team to do that, so that was another one of the bigger costs. But again, such a necessary thing to focus on, because your decor makes or breaks your event. Like, that is such a crucial part of your event, and I can't even explain to you how in awe I was of our decor. I was so in love with our walkway, of our stage. It was all personalized. Our dance floor was beautiful. The table centerpieces were beautiful. Like, I was in love with our decor and I was so happy with it. So I think in the end it paid off. Like, when you add all these things up, it becomes so scary to think, oh my gosh, I'm putting so much money towards these things, but it is worth it. These things that I'm telling you now, they are worth it. They're worth investing in. It goes without saying, you obviously don't have to spend loads of money on your wedding. You could literally elope. You could do a small intimate affair and you don't have to do all these things. This is just for the girls that want their big wedding day and their special wedding day, and they want to just know what to prioritize. I just want to add that little disclaimer, and I'm not telling you to go and fork out tons of money and get yourself in debt and spend thousands and thousands of pounds on a wedding. I don't think that's necessary, but this video is purely for the girls that have already decided that that is what they want, and this is just to help you out. So I just felt like I needed to include that in there. Okay, so the next thing, which I think is an essential, is your food. Okay, do not skimp on the food. Make sure you go for tasters. Make sure you are very, very happy with the food that you get, the catering that you get for your event. Now, Sunny was so sure before we'd even, I think, booked our venue who our caterers were going to be. He already had it in his mind that the most important thing about our event was the food. I think that is the one thing that people come away from weddings talking about, is the food, whether it was good or bad. So make sure your food is good, make sure you're happy with it, and don't necessarily just go with the caterers that come with your event, your venue. Catering, it is super expensive depending on how many people you have at your events. We had around 200 people. The invoice for that was a big cost, but you're gonna pay that amount anyway. Technically, if you are booking a venue that doesn't include the catering, that is an extra charge, you're gonna pay that amount anyway. So make sure you pay attention to the food that you are getting for your event. It is so important. And when it comes to the food being served, like at that point everyone is so hungry as well, because they've already traveled so far probably to come to your event. You've had your entrance, you've cut your cake, you've done all these extra things. People have milled around waiting for you to turn up to your event. People are hungry by the time the food arrives. So the last thing you want, including yourself, the last thing you want is for the food to come and people to be really upset about it, because that is what will stick in their heads. And it's not that the event is for other people, but you invite guests to enjoy your event. So just make sure that catering is on the top of your list to make sure you've nailed. Okay, so the nice to haves, I would say, we're still, it's hard to say these are nice to haves, because for us, like, the event would have been so different without them. So I'm so glad that we did them. I'm just saying, for anyone watching that's feeling torn about what to prioritize, the ones I've just mentioned, the decor, the photography, the wedding planner, the food, those are your priorities in terms of your budget. Figure those out first, then look at the extras, which I'm going to call a nice to haves, but don't get me wrong, they made our event so special. So the first thing was like desserts and mocktails. So we had a really cute like mocktail stand set up, so when guests came in they could actually just pick up a mocktail. We also had a chocolate fountain, we had a pancake stand, we had a photo booth, one of the traditional ones. I'm not a fan of the 360 booths, I'm sorry if you are, but I do not like them. Honestly, the pictures came out so cute. It also came with a guest book and everyone stuck their photos in and wrote us a nice message, and it was the cutest touch, and we still get to keep that now. So I'm trying to think what else was a nice to have. To be honest, I think a DJ, I would go as far as saying DJ is nice to have, just because if you are really strapped for cash and you are really trying to budget hard, you can create your own wedding playlist and play it. There are other options, but I do think a DJ definitely brings a good vibe, and they obviously mix songs a little bit and they really do get the crowd hyped, and they also host your event as well. So there are definitely huge benefits to having a DJ. Like, they're the ones on the mic telling people where they need to be if they, you know, start wandering around. Like, they kind of keep things together a little bit. They are kind of in control of announcements and things, so it's super helpful to have them. But you could just get one of your family members to do that if you wanted to then play your music from a playlist. So there's definitely options. So I would say it's a nice to have in the scenario where you're really tight on your budget and you just don't have enough money for that. I would say it's a nice to have, but obviously if you can afford it, I would still recommend it, because it's nice to just have someone there that's hired to take care of that, and you don't have to worry about, you know, family members having to take time out to focus on things like hosting and announcements and all that when they could be enjoying the event with you. One other nice to have, I would say, is car rentals. We actually booked Rolls Royces to bring our family to the venue. That is definitely a nice to have. That's probably something we really didn't need to do. That's definitely something we didn't need to do. But we chose to it because we wanted to give our family that like special treatment. It was a fancy venue. We wanted them to arrive in style. We wanted to give that nice experience to our family as much as we were like trying to do it for ourselves. So again, something that cost a lot extra that probably wasn't necessary, but that's something that we wanted to do. It was definitely a nice to have. Sonny rented a car as well for the event, which to be honest he will say wasn't essential. There's no way he would have not done that. Stuff like that did increase our costs, so I will mention it anyway. But again, that's probably something that if you're not too fussed about fancy cars and having that kind of wedding, then you could really, you know, cut a lot of costs down by not doing that. Oh, there was one other thing that we almost booked and then at the last minute we decided against it, and it was a singer. That's definitely a nice to have, guys, and that's actually a nice to have that we decided not to do in the end because we realized like how quickly our costs racked up. And this is something really, really crucial to pay attention to. When you are planning your wedding, you need to be very, very clear on everything that you are spending. So the way I tracked this was I put a note together. This is the same thing I did for my nikah. So if you guys have watched that video already, you'll know that this is my process for organization. But I put essentially a full note together. A table was in there of each different vendor that we had booked, their price, their deposit that we paid, and the status. So if we paid deposit, if we paid the full amount, if we were waiting on details for something. So I would regularly update that. And then alongside that, I actually had the wedding planner who was creating Word documents, like updating me on different people she'd reached out to, multiple different vendors we went through to kind of figure out what worked best for us. So she dealt with all the organization for that, which again is why a wedding planner is so, so helpful, because I still did a lot of organisation to keep us on check budget-wise, but the organisation in terms of logistics, sourcing vendors, all of that side of thing, and tracking when people were communicated with, all the updates regarding that, our wedding planner was responsible for that. So I would really recommend still tracking things for yourself, even if you have a wedding planner, especially when it comes to your budget, because obviously you're the one spending the money at the end of the day and you're the one that has to decide if you can afford things or not. So make sure you create your own table and list of all the things that you're spending money on. So I also added the things that I ordered myself onto here as well. So we were going to opt for fireworks, which is another nice to have, which we decided against in the end because we were getting quoted like minimum £1,000 to do like a 2-minute firework display. And we just thought that's a nice to have, and that's not necessary. So we decided on sparklers instead, which was the cutest exit actually, and I'll show you a photo of our little sparkler exit. I think it was just the nicest finish, I think, and it was 20 quid for those sparklers versus £1,000 that we were going to spend. So I think we were definitely very savvy and we made good, smart financial decisions switching the fireworks to sparklers. Don't get me wrong, I'm obsessed with fireworks and I would have loved to have finished our wedding event with fireworks, but we're spending that money on our honeymoon instead, and I'm much happier about that. At the end of the day, the stuff that we saved money on for our wedding, in our minds we were like, well, if we don't spend it on that, we're going to spend it on our honeymoon. That was our mindset. We were always like, if this money is here and it's ready to spend, what would we rather spend it on? I think that's a really good mindset to have, because you do get carried away when you're spending for your wedding. Now, don't get me wrong, if you've got help financially with your wedding, then that's a different story. Like, go all out, sister. But we didn't. When you're financially responsible for everything yourself, I think what's really important to do is just keep in mind, if you don't spend it on your wedding, you can spend it on yourself in another way, or you can save that money back and treat yourselves. When you think about it, a wedding is for everyone else there as much as it is for you. So it is kind of nice to keep as much money back as possible that you can just invest into the two of you, the people that are getting married. But there were some things, don't get me wrong, that we literally like couldn't afford. Oh, there were a few little ad hoc things I actually ordered from AliExpress, which you will have seen in a previous vlog if you've been keeping up with my wedding prep vlog. So I ordered some glow sticks. I think they were like £60. No, they weren't. There were 60 of them, I think. Maybe for £20. I can't remember the price, but you guys can go search glow sticks on AliExpress and loads will come up. And that is something I ordered because, you know, we were having that party vibe, celebration vibe. It was just for a bit of fun. Definitely not a necessity, but it was just like an added extra like prop or thing to have there. I also ordered Sunny and I's sunglasses, which we wore on the dance floor, which is super funny, and we got some really cute photos in those. So there's little things like that that you can add to your event that are super inexpensive, but they're little extra touches. So I would recommend going on AliExpress for little things like that, because that's what I did, and they're so inexpensive, but they are those little things that when you have pictures of them, when you look back, it'll just be like super fond memories, and it won't break the bank. Also, on that note, I do want to point out why a wedding planner is also so great, is that little things like that, like the sunglasses and the glow sticks, when it got to that point where we were all on the dance floor, I completely forgot about all of that. But who remembered? Our wedding planner. She brought all the glow sticks over, started throwing them at everyone to get everyone to use them. She brought us our sunglasses over so we could actually wear them, because I completely forgot about those things. But she knew that I ordered them for a reason, and I wanted to use them at some point. So it was her job to make sure that everything, little things like that was so easy to just forget about, she was so on point with and organized and knew when things needed to be done, and she just was in control of those little things, which made such a big difference in the end. Because I would have been so sad if it got to the end of the night, we finished the event, and I realized that we didn't even use the glow sticks I bought, or we didn't even wear the sunglasses and have cute pictures in them like we did. So that was so nice to have someone there that was ready to like make sure all of that was taken care of. There was little things like that. To have someone on your wedding day that is committed to ensuring all of these little things run smoothly is so crucial. Now, don't get me wrong, you can definitely get a family member to do that. Like I said, if someone's really good at event coordination in your family, or if you just want to sign someone up for the job because you don't want to pay the hefty fees of a wedding planner, then by all means go and do that. But like I did mention in my nikah video, I did basically hire family to help out with the DIYs and all the stuff that I wanted to do at the nikah. And for this event, I was very specific about not wanting any family to touch a thing, and I wanted them to enjoy the event with me and be present. So while I was on the dance floor with all my family and friends, the wedding planner was there and hired for the purpose of like doing all those extra things that maybe someone else could have done, maybe bridesmaids could have done if I had those. Guys, I didn't have bridesmaids, by the way. I just didn't see the necessity, because I feel like you have bridesmaids because then they have a role to play in your wedding in terms of like they're responsible for different things. And like I said, I wanted everyone to enjoy it and have a good time and be present with me rather than running around having these other responsibilities. And that's again exactly why I hired our wedding planner, who did a fabulous job at that. So that's why I continue to rave about her, because that was one of our best investments, I think, when it came to our wedding. Okay, so moving swiftly on then, I may as well talk about the on-the-day schedule and how we dealt with all of that. So like I said, because we had Ilsa, she basically wrote the draft plan of the day of everything leading up to the event. So our event was actually an evening reception, but obviously there was a lot to do before that. So she wrote up a draft plan. She also coordinated when all of the different vendors would arrive, how long they would need to set up, when they would be coming back to like take their stuff away if they needed to, like the decor and things. She dealt with all of that. What I was mainly responsible for is figuring out when I was going to get myself to the venue, when I was going to get ready, when our photo shoot was going to be, and then the actual itinerary of the evening was obviously more my job to kind of confirm what I wanted. So when food was going to be served, when we were going to cut our cake, when we were going to enter, the timings for everything basically. Obviously she did help kind of guide that a lot, but it was ultimately my decision and Sunny's to decide when all these little things were going to happen. So because it was an evening event, we decided to work backwards based off that. We confirmed what we wanted to do during the time that we had the venue. So I think our event started at 6 p.m. and then we had the venue up until 11:30 at night. So we time blocked all of the different things that we wanted to do during that time. So serving food, cutting cake, taking photos with family, being on the dance floor, like all these little things that we wanted to do were time blocked. And then we worked backwards and saw, okay, so if our event starts at this time, what do we need to get done before then, and how is that all going to pan out? Now, what I will tell you guys is something that I wish I could do if I could go back. I would get ready earlier. I turned up at that venue at 9 o'clock in the morning or 9:30. I would go even earlier, and I'm not a morning person at all, which is why I decided that that was the earliest I was going to get there. But girls, getting ready takes so freaking long. There are always delays and things that you just need to consider extra time for everything. What I am super grateful for is our photographers, literally I think the night before our wedding, my photographer rang me and he was like, look, I know my initial plan was to start getting ready at 12 p.m. Why I decided, well, the reason we decided that is because I wanted to use one of the bridal suites at the venue and they were only available from that time. So that is the reason for that decision. But when my photographer rang me, I was like, look, you're gonna need way longer to get ready, get all your photos and not be super rushed. So then we did try and push it back to a 10 a.m. start. We actually ended up starting to get ready at 11 and weren't done till around 2 p.m. So imagine if we'd started at 12, probably wouldn't have started till 1 once everyone was there, set up and ready to go. And then we would have had from 1 till probably 4 or 5, I would have been getting ready. Would have had no time for pictures or anything before because the event started at 6 and all the guests were arriving then. So get ready as early as you can. I used to be that person that was like, why are brides getting ready at like 5 o'clock in the morning? Now, I'm not saying get ready that early. I feel like I still don't understand that. That's probably because they have a morning ceremony, to be fair. But get ready as early as you possibly can. Even earlier than you think you need to be ready by, because I didn't do that and we were still very rushed, we were still very time pressured, and it did make that like interim time a bit stressful between me being ready, needing to get all our photos before guests arrived, because Sunny also had to then go home as well in between our photo shoot and our event starting. So it was just very time pressure. So all I would say is make sure girls get ready at least 2 hours before you think you need to be ready by. It just gives you that extra buffer. It gives you that chance to like not be super stressed about things being delayed, because things will get delayed no matter what you try and like do or say or how best you try to plan with the time that you have. If you do give yourself a stringent amount of time, don't do that. Don't not give yourself any wiggle room, because my initial plan was very, very strict in timing. It was everything had to happen on that dot, and if it didn't, then it would have been delayed. But if I'd given us that extra couple hours buffer, which I ended up doing, and it was still a little bit delayed. Obviously everything worked out fine. Like we actually did end up being on time, but we were just time pressured and a bit more stressed and rushed around. And I would have rather it not been like that. I would have rather us just, you know, being able to be a bit more in the moment when we're doing our photo shoot and not worry about, oh, we just get the shot done because we need to go to the next one. And it was kind of a little bit like that. I wish I just prepped that side of things better in advance. Having said that, we still did get everything done that we needed to. Sunny managed to go home on time and sort all of that out. Our event started on time. There wasn't any major delays, and I think that was mainly down to our wedding planner. Again, she was very, very good with the timings and making sure things wrapped up when they needed to. So even though it felt rushed and pressured, things still did tick along really smoothly. So all in all, it wasn't a disaster. I'm just saying, if I could go back, I would want things to be a bit more calm than it was at that moment in time. So other than getting ready, your schedule before your actual event really depends on what you plan to do. So if you plan to have couples photo shoot, if you have a ceremony in the morning before your reception, there's loads of different things that will come into play here. So it's really just dependent, I guess, on your event itself. So my main tip is really the getting ready part, because as soon as you're ready, that means that you have all the time to do everything else. And it doesn't matter if you're waiting around or, you know, if you're ready early, that's better than being ready later than expected and rushing around. Okay, so moving on in terms of other things to do with being a bride then. This section, I want to talk all about getting yourself ready as a bride on your wedding day. So outfit, I mentioned at the beginning, my mother-in-law took care of that. Alhamdulillah for her, because my outfit was so freaking beautiful. Do you know what's funny, guys, is the outfit actually wasn't the colour that I expected it to be. It did come in a different colour. But it's one of those outfits that it could have turned up purple and it still would have been incredible. It was stunning. It was more than I could have dreamt of, and I was so happy with my outfit. But my mother-in-law ordered that, so I don't really have any more details to share with you on that, other than it was a very expensive dress. And as a bride, if you're having your like main wedding day, generally your dress is probably going to be one of the most expensive. Hello, darling. What are you doing? Have you finished? Oh, oh no.
No, what do you want to eat?
Well, the thing is, yeah, I'm recording a video. Are you treating me? Okay, babe.
Okay.
Love you, thank you.
See you later.
See you later. marry a man who is busy at work and still finds time to ring you to make sure you've eaten. Okay, what was I saying? Yes, as a bride, the most expensive thing you'll probably invest in is your dress. So I was very, very lucky and grateful that that's not something that I had to sort by myself, because I honestly don't know what I would have done. Like I said, with everything that we booked for the event, we went way over budget. So I don't know what we would have done about my dress. So yeah, I'm very thankful that's not something I had to worry about. All I would say is, girls, shop as early as you can for dresses, because the fact that they're so expensive, and also it's your wedding day. Like, you want to feel like a princess and you want to wear your dream dress. So the sooner you figure out what that is and the sooner you find out the price of it, the better. The actual dress that I chose, I found on Pinterest. I literally saw a photo of it one day and I was like, that's my dress. And the rest was history. Go on Pinterest to look at inspo. I would say this about your decor. I would say this about the photos you want. Pinterest is the best place to look for inspo and all of that. So there are obviously other little things to consider as a bride, such as jewelry. I would always get your jewelry after you've got your outfit sorted, because then you know how you want to match the jewelry with it. Hopefully this video has given you a really good insight into how you can start planning your own wedding. I'm wishing you the absolute best of luck in planning your wedding, and congratulations for the fact that you're getting married. I'm so excited for you. I really hope everything goes smoothly and to plan. You're gonna have the best day. Just please take it all in and just absorb every moment and just have a good time. That was the motto for our wedding, and I think we absolutely did that. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you found any of these tips useful, definitely let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you have any other tips for any other bride-to-bes, because we all want to help each other out here. And with all that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye guys!